Live with James Bang in Hong Kong. What's going on, James?
So we've had about just not a minute ago, there were about 40 plainclothes officers with no identifications. They had all their IDs removed, and they called for backup of these plainclothes to arrive. What happened was it was way too public. We started shouting that they've got no IDs, they've got no IDs, and local legislative people, government officials, came by because they heard what was happening, and quickly police dispersed. I mean, they all gathered. There was maybe 70, 80 of them, and now they've all dispersed that direction. Once we kind of identified them as not having any kind of identification on their body.
Were we just following just a minute ago?
Prevented a brutal attack by police by revealing to everyone that they had no IDs. They had no IDs. They're the most dangerous police, the plainclothes without identification. They're the ones who have a track record of brutally beating citizens here in Hong Kong. And this gang of anti-riot, plainclothes with no identification officers, a big group of them was spotted just now gathering. And they were even calling for plainclothes backup. But we were quickly on site, we heard what they were doing, got a lot of media around, and so everyone knew that they had no IDs on, and immediately they dispersed. And now they've dispersed and left. So whatever they were trying to do, we definitely foiled whatever they were attempting to do just there.
Were you able to follow them at all? I mean, is there any way of finding out where they've gone?
Yeah, we're following them now. But that was you see right here, you can see that these guys right here, they have no identification in the front. Where their badges should be, there is no ID. There were about 80
Welcome to Network Journalists.
And they called in for reinforcements. In Cantonese, they call it Choi Gai. The plainclothes officer was basically, these thugs were calling in more backup, and something was about to happen, something very, very violent. However, about 20 international and local media members gathered to the front really quickly. Everyone realized they didn't have their IDs. And they dispersed. They didn't want, they didn't want people to know who they are or why they were there. Here they are. These are the people right here. Plainclothes with no IDs. No IDs they have.
Were you able to get a closer look without putting yourself in danger? So they're still walking around, James.
Sorry?
They're still walking around, these plainclothes officers.
Headed ahead in front here, basically to disappear, right? Because this is where the cops are, so that they basically come here to disappear. They pretty much just dispersed. As soon as media gathered and the story was out that they were out in force with no identification, they dispersed so quickly. So that was just a few minutes ago, but we've had so much happen here tonight. There's been a stabbing. Probably some paid thug stabbed a gentleman earlier tonight. Let me just Alex O'Neill. Holy fuck. Oh shit, sorry. I just bumped into a high school friend here. We're recording. What's going on? So just to show you, Hong Kong's a real small town. I haven't bumped into Alex in about 10 years. 10 years. And here he is. Pretty good to see you, mate. I'll catch you around, yeah? Alright. Yeah. Trying to report on what they're doing here. They're doing criminal things, is what he says, and he's absolutely right. These are criminals with uniforms. Let me just get my equipment set up. Give me a few minutes. Yeah.
So can you see the officers that you were referring to earlier without the ID?
They've really dispersed into the crowd. They've gone. But I'll set everything back up so we can get a clearer sound and everything. Absolutely. Every day? Days. Where are you living these days? No. Okay. No, I'm right in Capital City, not too far from here.
While James is preparing, I'll take you through some of the images from his Twitter feed. He doesn't
Yeah.
just do moving images, he also does stills. I think we've got some pictures of these officers that you were talking about, James. Are these on your Twitter? Did you post these up about 9 minutes ago?
I took some high res of them, and you can see they clearly don't have their badges on, right? There's nothing identifying who they are, what number they are, right? That's where it should be, right there.
Yeah.
Really despicable. So they were preparing an operation there on the side street, and he was on his phone for backup, basically. He asked for the plainclothes backup to arrive, and as soon as we revealed they all had no IDs, they dispersed. They ran. Cops dispersed.
And it reminds me of Ferguson as well, where the police officers were covering their name badges with the black gaffer tape so they couldn't be reported. It's this lack of accountability.
Right. It's absolutely despicable. And once they were found out to have no IDs so publicly, they ran. They dispersed like they were never there, like this operation never existed. We've got video and evidence that they were planning an operation without identification, and that once the rest of the media got wind of it, they were nowhere to be found. They just all headed this way and dispersed. A big group of them.
Yeah, so accountability for the public, but no accountability for the authorities.
Right. And before that, we had a few incidences as well where there was a stabbing at about 6 p.m. here in Mongkok. And shortly thereafter, someone had a Molotov cocktail in his hand. No. So apparently Alex here, he's got some interesting stories to tell us from what he's seen today. So let's have a chat, a quick interview here with Alex of what he's seen. All right, Alex. So this is Alex, and we used to go to school together. Can you tell us what you saw today? Yeah, people were they pro-democracy or anti-people? They're in the middle. So they're just trying to cause trouble with tasers. Did they tase anyone, or no, they were showing it? So Alex has seen tasers. I've seen Molotov cocktails. So people were basically getting these So Alex has seen tasers. I've seen a Molotov cocktail, and someone was trying to light it or threatening to light it, and then people grabbed him immediately. And shortly thereafter, there was another incident where people were doing. It's like they mixed paint with some kind of excrement because it had a foul smell to it, and it hit some children on the streets. So there's all these different coordinated attacks happening almost within an hour or two of each other. Everyone's on edge. It's just not a normal day today here in Mongkok. There's just been so much shit happening. Every half an hour, you'll just see a charge, people running to this area, that area, and then just shortly soon after we saw a police operation, at least an attempt at a police operation that we kind of failed once we revealed that they were trying to do something without proper identification. So it's just been a very, very jumpy night all along here in Mongkok. It's been very nervous for everyone, and it's just not been a very nice day to be here. It's been very dangerous actually here in Mongkok. you're at risk wherever you are from something being thrown off a building, or even just someone getting a box cutter out and just stabbing you, like we saw this afternoon. So everyone's on real high alert here. But what I can tell you for a fact is none of the trouble is being caused by the pro-democracy protesters. It's just all these different agitators are here right now trying to make the situation more tense and dangerous for the pro-democracy protesters right now.
I was just, as you were speaking, I was just showing some of the pictures to the viewers at home of what those paint bombs look like.
I've just turned the corner and they're having an argument here. It's very tense everywhere. And this has been happening every corner I go to. There's an argument, a scuffle, an incident. It's just been like this every half an hour, last few hours. There's just a very, very negative energy all around, a lot of tension. And that's not even news, right? That's been happening every few minutes. It's normal. That's probably the smallest thing that's happened here in the last few hours. And if you look at we're now at the center point of Nathan Road and Argyle Street, and actually there's no one present. This is where all the protesters were. They're all gone. It's not that they're not out here. They're dispersed all around Mongkok because there are incidents breaking out at every fucking corner, literally every 5, 10, 15 minutes, that there's not enough bodies for people to actually be at the main center area right now. It is empty. There are just so many side incidents. Everyone is dispersed all around Mongkok, especially at that alley where we just foiled a police operation. So it's just quite tense all around right now. Police are now occupying Mongkok instead of the protesters. Police have now set up tents.
How funny.
So now Mongkok is now being occupied by police officers, not by protesters. So I don't know if there's an official complaint against Hong Kong police occupying Mongkok with tents, but currently they own the center point, and they're very happy to occupy this whole street to themselves. They've got a whole city block of police vehicles lined up right there. So they've got 20 plus vehicles running down. They're literally occupying a whole block, a lot more than what the protesters are occupying, or pretty much the same, minus the center point.
They're trying to use your own tactics against you, James. They're learning. Maybe they'll come up with umbrellas tomorrow.
Oh God. So let's just head back down to where we foiled that little police operation just now, as we see Leo again. Hey Leo, guys. So we always see the same faces now, right? It's the regular folks, you know. Everyone knows everyone now. It's like one big community. So this is all that's left, because actually people now are no longer sleeping in the streets. They're all on the side here because they're scared. They're scared people are going to throw worms or paint or hammers or other things out the window. They're very, very scared right now. So most people don't actually sleep. Where everyone used to be on the street, half the people now are on the sides under the shelter because they don't want anything to land on their head. Because in Mongkok, we've had about 4 or 5 incidents now, from hammers to bugs to paint to shit being thrown out the window. And these are the really, really fearless people who are actually sleeping on the streets here. So this is one of the buildings where you saw in my Twitter feed that paint came down from. But the thing that's very, very suspicious about that incident is as soon as people charged up to see to the roof, that was the immediate reaction. There were already 3 police officers at the top of that roof. Already. And they said they've been there since 6 o'clock. The incident happened at 8:45. So police were already at the top of that building for 2 hours and 45 minutes. And the story has been there because people saw the same paint, the same spray paint markings on top of the roof where the police were. And and it was still wet. That paint was still wet on the roof. And police claimed no one's been around for hours, they were the only ones there, and that they don't know why there's wet paint there. So there's something very suspicious going on all around here tonight. Even when the stabbing happened in a very public area, there were no police officers to be found for minutes. It's really, really strange. It's just these coordinated attacks on police either not being there or being right, where in the building where things were thrown from. And it's just, I don't know, something doesn't feel right here. Everyone is just feeling like these are real coordinated attacks and that police are just ignoring them or letting them happen. And that's how dangerous it is, because even when there is some kind of attack, the police don't respond till 5-10 minutes later. You see, all the people.
How long are we into the protests? Have you been keeping count of the number of weeks?
September 28th is when the tear gas happened, so that's when everyone counts from.
So this is what you're approaching week 4 now, approaching the first month.
So do you want to give us an update here? What's happening down there?
Nothing, not much.
Not much? So after we revealed all the police had no IDs, they pretty much dispersed and ran away, huh?
Looks like it.
Looks like it.
Yeah. So
I guess they didn't want us to know that they had no IDs, and they were not, whatever they were going to do, they decided not to do it, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah.
All right, thanks a lot.
Yeah.
So he's a photographer. Where do we find you on Twitter?
So my name is Miguel Candela, so it's basically my name, follow my name, and then on the last.
All right. Thanks, Miguel. He's a photographer here.
I'm really tired.
All right, take care. Bye. I've seen him here every day as well.
Did you catch his surname?
Really. But he's here.
We'll play it back. We'll play it back. Yeah.
He's here for 12 plus hours daily. I see him all the time. But what we had witnessed was basically a huge operation. I mean, they were calling back up. They were ready to charge from the side, and then this whole no ID thing became such a public story the other day that we all started shouting. Press, we were shouting, no ID, taking photos, and then they disappeared like they would never even. I mean, that to me is a big story that we foiled a police operation right now. You see, people haven't left this area. Everyone's still here. We basically turned around one big block. We'll see if there's even one officer here. There's not even one. There's not even one police officer right now. Earlier here, there might have been 100 officers gathering, preparing to do something. Something cynical, in my opinion. I mean, they were prepared. They came, the way they were marching down, it wasn't just for a little high checkup. No, they were getting ready to do something. But they should have had their identity cards on, or else it wouldn't have been a big deal. If they would have
James, I want to get a sense. I want to back up a little bit. I want to get a sense of where this protest is heading, because I think you've done a great job of keeping this very important issue top of mind for people. Even though we've had the airstrikes in Syria, we've had Ebola in the news, we've had things that have dislodged Hong Kong from the public psyche. And I want to get a sense from you about how you think things are going to pan out over the next couple of weeks. It clearly sounds like the police are not sure what to do. They've been caught wrong-footed. They don't have a strategy for this. The manual does not tell them how to cope with the kind of peaceful protest that you guys have been citing such a great example of. So what do you think is going to happen now in the next few weeks?
Well, the talks last night pretty much were, everyone's disappointed by the talks yesterday. They didn't think anything was achieved. Disappointment is the word used by almost everyone I've spoken to. It almost seemed like parents on the other side lecturing children, on what they've done wrong, It wasn't a proper dialogue, and we don't even think, another round of talks might even help. So If dialogue doesn't go anywhere, and being in the streets is starting to lose public sentiment real quick here, right? The public is turning very fast. There might have been, 70, 80% support initially after the tear gas. Now I reckon it's no more than 50. Every time I took a cab home before, the cab drivers were always very supportive. Now I'm seeing it is kind of close to that 50-50, level. So I can see public support dropping fast. Even though I don't understand why that's the case, because there's been so much police brutality, you'd figure that the people would be very upset about it. However, that story on Saturday where police actually pushed the barricades over and started beating the students, that story got very little traction. It came out as a giant scuffle. That's how the media reported it as, even though we have visual evidence and video that it was the police who actually knocked the barricades and started charging and beating protesters who were laid out on the ground and helpless. And that story was basically wrapped up as a mutual fight, and that these are all radicals here in Mongkok. They've got a real tight grip on the media somehow, even though the journalists here, live on site, know what's happened and report back to their bosses. Somehow, that doesn't come out that way. So clearly, journalists here on the front are frustrated as well because they're getting their stories printed or published in the way their editors want it published versus what they really see on the ground here.
So it sounds like you've got an immovable object and an unstoppable force. It doesn't look like there is any way around this. It's just a permanent standoff position. And it's a PR battle, isn't it?
It is. It is a big PR battle, which is why we're thinking it's 30 days. It's day 25. We're thinking we should create something for day 30 that compiles everything that the police have actually done and have blamed the public on. So that incident last Saturday, they pushed the barricades first. So we're thinking this is definitely a long-term occupation because just talking to the students, they're not even willing to compromise. I've talked to many volunteers and I said, hey, what if you just expand the nomination committee from 1,200 to 20,000 and include a more diverse range of people? Would you accept that? And the answer was overwhelmingly no way. Full universal suffrage, we've come this far, but we're not compromising.
And we've lost your video feed, James.
And that's one of the criticisms the students got from the politicians. They were saying, if minimum wage is 30 Hong Kong dollars and you're trying to get it up to 50, well, this is politics. You're not going to get $50, right? They're saying you might get 35, 37, and that the students have to be willing to accept that as a victory. But they're saying the students want $50 from 30, and that they're not willing to even accept 35, 37. And that was one point from the debate yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, it does sound like the only thing the police can really count on now is the public support waning for the students, and just saying to the students, look, come on guys, you're just going to have to capitulate, you're just going to have to settle. And I think it's important that you are able to adapt to that change and keep reminding people of why this is important, because the biggest threat to the citizens of this world from governments is apathy. And that's what the government's banking on. It's banking on people getting bored.
Right. But the people here are so passionate, they're not getting bored.
Yeah, that's true.
These are the real hardcore people that are left who have been here every day. And actually the biggest story I think that came from the talks yesterday was that they're saying, oh, 2017 is not the end of talks for universal suffrage. There's 2022, not on my term, basically, is the message that they're trying to give, and no one's buying that. They tried that in 2012.
Well, that's a classic. That's a classic government line. Oh, we'll kick the can down the road to the next guy.
Absolutely. So now they're saying 2022 we'll revisit it. 2017 is not the end, and everyone's called bullshit on that. They know exactly what game it is. It's not on my terms. Let's put it on to the next guy, and no one's buying that argument whatsoever. So that's why everyone's very disappointed in the talks yesterday.
Well, you guys are doing a great job, and we're just going to keep covering this on WCN. We're just going to not stop. But how are you doing on the fundraising? I haven't actually checked the wallet recently. How much are you burning through your data allowance?
Not too sure, but we've had some people join us on the food drive. So local people have actually seen the Pearl report, and they contacted me via Twitter asking how they could contribute as well. And so we've actually connected with some local people here to deliver hot meals. So it's expanded from the digital world purely through Bitcoin and Reddit, and now local people, local businessmen have kind of asked me to talk and see how they can contribute towards the hot meals and lunches to the students as well.
That's great.
So
That's fantastic.
Right. So the guys in front of us here, they're the ones with the tasers, apparently.
Wait, where?
These guys are right here.
And are these plainclothes officers?
No. These are apparently people on the front line acting as pro-democracy yellow ribbons, even though they're probably antis, just here to stir trouble.
And they've got tasers on them.
Apparently so, yes.
We need to get that verified, because that's quite a serious allegation. I'm not suggesting you go up to them though, if it is a
Have your tasers, I'd love to see. I could ask them some questions. Although they probably don't want their faces filmed. So you can see police have backed off now. They were actually right here by that pole. So they were all across this area. Protesters were right across. And the police are where I am standing. And basically the police officers pushed all these barricades forwards onto the students and then charged this whole street, whacking them with batons in their heads and then stomping them down as they chased the protesters down the street, which was really unnecessary because protesters were backing away, right? And now police I figured out they really are abusing this red flag system. What they're doing is they lift the flag not as a warning to back off, but almost as a warning as we're going to charge. So they basically put up the red flag and then charge. And that's not the way the flag's supposed to work. The red flag is supposed to go up so that people back off, and then it simmers down tension. Instead, they wave it up. Hey, we waved it. That you've had your 10-second warning, and then they charge. And that's absolutely despicable, and that's what they've been doing these last few days.
Right. So it's just a bunch of mind games.
But all is calm again. It's past 2 a.m. here now. Not very many officers. Not very many people. Things are calm now. For the first time in many hours, we haven't had, incidents occurring in multiple zones. So things are now calm once again.
Well, James, can I suggest we save your bandwidth, and I'll have you on Skype if you need to. We can go back on air very quickly.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah.
So
thank you very much.
All right, take care, Chris.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for watching, everyone. Stay tuned. Bye bye.